Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to a researcher, Gregory Taylor, who has some information in reference to African American literacy, and he's given us quite a bit of information in reference to his own personal background and his own experiences dealing with literacy. And Professor Taylor, let's pick up where we left off, and to give you an opportunity to now talk about African American literacy and why African Americans are having difficult times in terms of reading and literacy in a real sense.
Yes. Dr. Haney, when I got started, learning to read, as I said earlier, my mother taught me to read, but made me feel guilty when I couldn't pronounce the word. So I took that thinking to school. And in the first grade, when we would read, I remember I was always compared to another little fellow in the class. And if we messed up, you got put in from the A group back in the F group from reading the embarrassment in the classroom. And when you couldn't make a sound of a word, you didn't know phonics, the kids would laugh at you. So you have all of these things in your memory when it comes to trying to learn in school. And having spoken at a lot of literacy agencies in Atlanta, a lot of the other kids would share these things too. And recently, about a year ago, Dr. Sylvester Gates spoke at Tennessee State University. And during his informal setting, we got a chance to question him. And what I remember most was he said that he's on the President Education Committee, President Obama Education Committee. And he said they told President Obama that this present workforce today is not equipped to prepare the kids for the 21st century. And he said that they must learn how the children learn and then teach them from that perspective, not to try to get them to learn from the way they have learned. And that really stuck with me because the book that I've written called Unrefined Thoughts for Thinking, it's designed to capture those unrefined thoughts because I believe all of us were illiterate at one time or have unrefined thoughts in our head. And if we could use those and give you an example of one, when I was in the third grade, we had two to a book to read. And when you finish reading the paragraph, the teacher asked you to read, the teacher would say, "Did you comprehend that?" And I say, "Comprehend?" I said, "I wonder what the world that is." I thought some smoke was going to appear between my face and the book. And the kids get a great joy out of me opening up and sharing the way that I thought incorrectly in reference to but I never would have said that when I was in school, because the kids would laugh at me and different things of that nature. But it's things like this. And in one of the classes that I was speaking in, I'll never forget, a seventh grader at the Bunch Middle School in Atlanta, this young lady told me they would write a paragraph, and she told me afterwards, she said, Mr. Taylor, she said, I had stopped learning because I was not learning like other kids in the classroom. And she said, now that I've heard your presentation, she said, I realize the little that I have learned, I can add something to that and grow from that. And so that's what I'm getting at here when I say unrefined thoughts for thinking, for learning. We have unrefined thoughts in our memory. In the book, I make mention of scratch paper, scratch thoughts, like when you do your taxes. You throw away the scratch paper. You don't need it. But in our memory, I remember I interviewed teachers in the school system, bookstore owners in Atlanta, and the principal of a school. And he told me that the method that I was using, unrefined thoughts for thinking, for learning, brought his memory, took him back to when he was learning. So in all of our memories, there are some thoughts that we have that are unrefined. And I believe if we use those to connect them to those who are totally illiterate, the functionally illiterate, and then the literate, we can connect there. That's what the book have in mind, to do. And it's exciting to see, their reaction and making them feel comfortable. And I spoke to one group of men in Atlanta between the age of 40 and 50 years old. And they told me that they will not share their unrefined thoughts for learning with teachers if they make them feel uncomfortable, or if they feel like it will embarrass them, or if they would laugh at them. But I have found that a lot of those who are functionally illiterate, they have created new methods for which they are learning. And this brings to mind what Dr. Sylvester Gates said. He's a physicist at the University of Maryland, that we must learn the way the kids are learning and then use that to assist them in the way that they need to go.
In order to teach them,
that's
you have
right.
to learn that.
That's learn that first. And it's totally different from what it used to be, that they need to learn that. And to give you another example, I heard the CEO of Mahari, new CEO of Web, say that HMO is out and that the HCO is in terms of healthcare, and in the church, the contemporary music is out, and what's in now is the old music, to get back to that. And I connect all these things together. I see how they are, connected, and things along those lines,
Very good. And so in a real sense, we have to work at teaching. Teaching does not come automatically to some children.
Yes, that's true. And also, I knew early on that I was going to have to teach myself. And one of the other things that I was concerned about, I was given a lot growing up. I had 4 older sisters. One was a teacher, 2 were nurses, x-ray technician. And so these individuals did a lot for me in terms of giving a lot of things to me, getting and buying a lot of things for me. But all along, I knew that what I didn't have, one day I was going to have to get it for myself. And so that conditioned me to learn to teach myself, and I believe in self-education as much as possible, that's kind of
thing. And you think that if more children were exposed to some kind of system that would allow them to understand the importance of education, you think that would be very successful, that they would have an opportunity to sort of teach themselves?
Yes, and in that area, Dr. Haney, being that I study what is called embryo ethnograph, how the unborn child is affected by the environment, I believe that medical records could be used greatly to help kids. Like, I suffered a neck injury, and I didn't know that the son before me had died from a neck injury. So getting into these areas, I think they're great teaching vehicles. As Dr. Jane Poussant said, that we got to go into prenatal. And then there's later children Finch funds, how kids are being prepared in prenatal for prison. And I remember my pastor, the late Dr. Wes Harvey, as a lad, he used to say, before young folk got on drugs, mom and dad was already taking pills.